Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the 2018 NFL Draft Class, specifically production analytics relating to wide receiver Anthony Miller out of Memphis. Now, if you're new to the channel, you're new to the content that I provide on this channel, all terms and definitions are going to be in the description. So I'm going to be doing my best to kind of explain things as I go along, but if you are not familiar with, say, passing yardage, market share, production data, or any of this other sort of stuff that I just said, you can go to the terms and definitions where all that information will be there. Now, first off, the only term that you really need to know for the next sort of graphs here is passing yardage, market share, production. Essentially what that is you take individual receiving yardage of a wide receiver in terms of what their best season was, and you divide it by the team total passing yards. So if a wide receiver had 1,000 yards in a 4,000 yard passing offense, that wide receiver has 25% passing yardage market share production. What you do the numbers, you take that number, that performance, and you compare it to every single wide receiver performance since the 1969 NFL draft class, and then boom, you have a way to see where most of the all-pro players typically perform, where the Pro Bowl players perform, and of course where the long-term starters perform when it comes to data. And when it comes to Anthony Miller Jr., he had a 77.99 passing yardage market share production score. Based on my data since 1969, he doesn't quite hit the 5-time All-Pro or 3-time All-Pro threshold. And again, that's bottom end threshold. The vast majority of five-time All-Pro wide receivers had at least a 85 or higher score, and the vast majority of 3-time All-Pro wide receivers since 1969 had an 80 or higher score. So Anthony Miller Jr. essentially gets taken out of All-Pro consideration. However, he does hit at least the 3-time Pro Bowl threshold of 68 or higher, and of course hits the long-term starter threshold of 58 or higher. So Anthony Miller Jr., just from a threshold perspective, looks a little bit more like a fringe, Pro Bowler / starter for the most part based on his data. And then, of course, when you look at the averages at the position, so this is the average college market share production score of a All-Pro player, a Pro Bowl player, and a starter. And Miller is closer to a starter level, which is 81.45, which is what the average is, than a Pro Bowler of 88.38. This, of course, is with multiple Pro Bowlers, multiple All-Pro players. And starter is essentially a wide receiver that hits 64 starts or more in their career, which is very rare. Only 10% of most wide receivers actually see 64 starts or more in their career in any given draft class, just to put that into perspective. So, for the most part, when you get to Anthony Miller, in terms of his overall data, he's someone who looks like a guy that potentially could be a Pro Bowler, more likely long-term starter. That's essentially what Anthony Miller Jr. looks mostly like when it comes to his overall data. Now, when it comes to his film, I like him. I think he's a very decent overall, sort of a number 2 wide receiver. Pretty good route runner, pretty good hands, pretty good in terms of contested situations, and I think he'd be a pretty good value as a day 2 / day 3 type of prospect. I think that's really where he belongs. The athletic testing, I think, will add a little bit of layer of different things when I finally do his overall draft profile when we get to that point. But overall, I like him. I think Anthony Miller Jr. is a solid wide receiver. I just don't necessarily think that he's a first rounder or even a second rounder, to be honest, based on his overall data. He just looks more like a third rounder to fourth rounder type guy based on his overall data for the most part, and also based on film. And of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know. Hit that notification button so that you're always reminded when another video of mine drops. And also check out the link in the description to my 2018 free agency offense guide. In that guide, it has profiles on all the quarterbacks that are set to hit free agency for the most part. Some of the guys are going to be signed before that, but just the guys that are pretty much set to hit free agency. It has all the profiles on the quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and offensive linemen. So if you are a guy that wants to have information that nobody else has, or at least that nobody else is telling you about the free agency class when it comes to offensive positions, please, please, please buy that guide. That guide, you know, buying that guide helps me out as much as leaving a like, as much as subscribing, etc. You know, it basically helps to fund the channel and do other sort of endeavors here and there. So be sure to check that out, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.